Hello and welcome to the Martial Perspective. We're on scene today with Sosho Bob Bohac, correct?
Yes, Bohac.
Okay. And you study Goshin Jitsu, correct? Karate.
That's my mother's system, yes.
Okay. And how long have you been practicing martial arts, sir?
Since I was 11.
11?
About 11 years old.
Okay.
I'm 74 now.
Oh, so you've been doing it quite a long time.
A few years.
Longer than I've been alive. Wow. So, when you started martial arts, did you start in Goshin?
No.
What was your...
I started at SAD, Scientific Arts of Defense, and they taught Shotokan, Jiu-Jitsu, and Aikido.
Okay. That was Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, correct? Or
yes.
Oh, okay. So, so you started in those systems, and you studied those through childhood? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what made you go transition to Goshin?
I was at a karate tournament, and I was watching this little guy over in the corner, and he's just beating the living daylights out of this kid. And I never saw anything like it. And I was like, and I was ready for black belt. And I went, I want to learn that. I don't know what it is, but I want to learn it.
And who was the instructor that?
Master Durant.
Master Durant.
Gerald Durant.
And he was right here in the Mahoney Valley?
No, he was in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So was that a big transition for you? Was that hard to transition from what you were doing to that?
Yes and no. The techniques were similar, but Goshin fight's a lot closer than Shotokan. There's a lot more Kensetsu Waza and Atemi. So, and it was meaner, very mean. It's a ru, not a do. It's a fighting way of, not a sport form.
Okay. Well, that's one of the questions I always ask my guests. You know, I study Taekwondo and Judo, and there's a sport aspect of the sport, and there's a traditional aspect of the sport. Do you feel in martial arts today that the sport aspect is taken away from the traditional aspect of martial arts?
Oh, most assuredly.
Because my biggest fear is 20, 30 years from now, in my art, the Kukiwan governs what you can do in a tournament. As far as forms, and there's 9 kwans in Taekwondo, as you know, and each kwan does their forms a little bit differently, I mean, based on their style and what they're doing. And the Kukiwan says you have to do this form, this form, this form, this form, this form, but those forms are not indicative to what, let's say, Jido Kwan or Muda Kwan or Tang Sudo. That's what they do. Their styles are completely. It's a different type of Taekwondo's different style.
I understand.
So my fear is 20 years from now, the Kukiwan's going to keep taking it over, and those other Kwans, when these masters, i.e. Grandmaster AJ Perry and Grandmaster Sam Naples, when they passed away and are no longer with us, God forbid, that what they're teaching will go by the wayside because students want to go compete. And in order to do that, they have to learn these Kukiwan forms. So that's where I'm at with the whole sport thing. What do you think the sport takes away from the traditional aspect?
Reality.
Okay, how so?
In the old styles, you learn to fight. In the new styles, or the sport form, you learn to tag.
Yes, a lot of people tell me it's more like a dance than anything else. So.
And then, don't get me started on the kata aspect. Oh my God.
What do you think about the kata aspect?
They're terrible, especially in the weapons. I mean, these guys are jumping around, throwing the swords up in the air. You know, it's more gymnastics out. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's what they're doing is hard to do, but reality-based it is not. Correct.
You do that out on the street, you're going to get your keister kicked in.
My masters would roll over in their graves if they ever saw that.
So, what is your lineage like? Take me back through your lineage. Who taught you? Where what their history is about a little bit.
Okay, I studied at Shotokan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so And then in Aikido, Master Ramsey, Master Turpak was Jiu-Jitsu. He studied off of a gentleman by the name of Biddle, Colonel Biddle, who taught the Marines dagger and bayonet. Okay, and this guy was rich. He went all over the world and studied. Okay, and he was. You can find him in The Happiest Millionaire, or my Father from Philadelphia. That's a book, and then the Disney did a movie on him.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
But they don't mention the jiu-jitsu a lot, but it was funny as hell.
It's called The Happiest Millionaire?
The Happiest Millionaire.
Check it out if you haven't already watched it.
Biddle boxing, and he raised alligators. The guy was strange. A little strange.
Very eclectic.
So that's one. Then I went and studied with Master Durant, okay, in Erie. And what happened was I had a partner in Aikido, and his father would drive us up there, okay, and I was the uke. I get thrown around, and that's my trip up there. So we went and studied up there in jiu-jitsu. Then my partner went to college. I kept going, but I didn't have any money, so I used to hitchhike up there.
Oh, wow.
For my lessons, yeah.
Can't do that today.
No.
Get robbed and whatever else happens to you when you hitchhike.
Yeah. Master Durant taught Goshin Jitsu Karate. He also taught Aiki Jitsu and Jiu-Jitsu, and a smattering of some weapons. He did some weapons work.
So you studied Japanese Jiu-Jitsu well before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came out.
Oh, sure.
What is your take on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu compared to Japanese Jiu-Jitsu?
Well, the original Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was they stood up and fought. It was
more like judo.
There's not many strikes in judo.
No. I get that.
Okay, but they were more realistic then. Then they started going into the newaza, or the ground waza, for the sport form.
Yes, sir.
And that's where it went to, and that's where it is right now.
Do you think, because I remember, I've read about, and I've been told about Master Kano versus Master Gracie. They had a fight, and Master Kano, it was like a world fight. It was like huge. I mean, do you remember any of that?
Yeah, there was, even before that, they had, the jiu-jitsuists all got together for the judo. Kano had a champion. The funny part was the champion was an Aiki Jitsu practitioner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so he beat everybody. But most people don't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I understand that that Master Kano and Master Gracie fought in order to be able to train the police officers. I forget what country it was. Was it? I forget what country. But they were going to be that was going to be their national defense for police officers, and Master Kano ended up winning. So that country ended up winning the bid to train in judo rather than jiu-jitsu. But if Master Gracie would have won, it would have been a very, very different outcome at that time.
Well, back then there was a lot of different jiu-jitsus, so a lot of different styles. So they were very, I'm not showing you my techniques, because that's what Kano did. He went and took everybody's techniques, watered them down, and became judo.
Okay, I did not know that. So, Goshin Jitsu, it's not really that popular here in the Mahoning Valley. I don't know that there's, other than you teaching it, I don't know that anybody else here in the valley teaches it.
No.
So is it more prevalent outside of our area, a lot more prevalent, or is it just kind of something that's...
There's a hotbed up in Erie years ago, okay, and like Rochester, New York, that sort of thing. But no, it's a quiet system. I just didn't take everybody for students.
There's a lot of masters, grandmasters, and Soshos out there that are like that. They're very, very selective. It's almost like a vetting process with their students.
Yeah.
So
plus it's rather brutal. So
yeah. So when you're looking for prospective students, what do you look for if you're going to say, hey, yeah, come on in and I'm going to train you, or nah, I think you better go find something else?
Well, how earnest they are about the art, for one thing. You know, a lot of people go study for a couple months and say, yeah, I studied, and then they quit.
Right.
You know, you're looking for, martial arts is a lifelong process. It's just not, yeah, I studied for 2 years, No, it's not that.
Well, if you keep studying it, you lose it.
Yeah.
What is the biggest change you've seen since you started martial arts?
The biggest change? Oh, it's like night and day. Once again, they don't fight like they used to.
Right.
I mean, all the padding and all the gear you have to wear now to compete. In the old days, you didn't wear anything. You just walked out there.
It's interesting you say that because I relate again to Taekwondo, and I interviewed Grandmaster Herb Perez from the '92 Olympic Games, and I watched his fight, and it was, they were wearing pads, but it was brutal. They were getting knocked out. I mean, it was insane. And then I just recently watched the team trials for Team USA for Taekwondo to make the team. And this guy threw a turning back hook kick, and it just brushed across. But the point system they're using, Dado, I believe it's Dado, it's a magnet system. And as long as the magnet comes close enough, they're scoring the point. So, I mean, like Grandmaster Herb Perez says, if you're doing what you're doing in the Olympics today, out on the street, it's not going to be a good thing for you.
Well, for one thing, in the street, you don't kick in the head.
No.
Nothing higher than the solar plexus.
Right.
Because you're fighting in close. And then there's the big debate, with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu versus regular Jiu-Jitsu. Well, what's the first thing they do?
Take you to the ground.
Take you to the ground. You ever been in a street fight?
I'm a police officer. Yeah, I've been in a couple.
Okay. I mean,
the worst place you could possibly be in my profession is on the ground. I do not want to go to the ground at any cost. But if I'm on the ground, I want to know how to.
And don't get me wrong. The sport aspect is excellent. Okay, and everybody likes it.
Yes,
okay, but you got 3 guys on you in a street fight. You go down, you don't get back up.
No. You're always, like, for myself, I'm always searching for a tool on my belt to assist me to get out of that situation if I'm ever put in that situation. I've been on the ground twice in my career.
Well, I'm an ex-policeman myself.
Oh, it was a scary situation, especially when you have drunk idiots.
I had one guy, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he goes, oh yeah, I can take you down in 3-4 seconds. I said, son, do you realize how many times I can hit you in 3 or 4 seconds before I get down there? My instructor always taught me, if you were on the ground, you made a mistake.
Correct.
Okay, and you better get up quickly.
Yes, I would agree with that, 100%. Because, like I said, with all those tools on your belt and everything, and people grabbing at you, that's the worst place you could possibly be. And
well, with the extra weight on, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's an extra about 15, 20 pounds.
One of my seniors, when he became a policeman, I says, okay, let's go hit the Makawara board. He goes, why? I said, because you're not going to be jumping around with 40 pounds on you. And he was a big boy, too, so.
So studying martial arts as a law enforcement officer, at any given day, for you folks that don't know out there, you have a camera on you, be it a cell phone, be it a street camera. You have a camera on you, and you're being recorded. I think the average is about 70 times per day if you're out in the world. I mean, at any given time, you're always being filmed. So, when you're defending yourself, you have to, in today's society, you have to make it look almost gentle, because then you're going to be tried in public opinion. And nobody wants that, obviously, but I want to go home.
No more back jokes.
Right. So what's your answer to that, sir? For my sake.
For your sake is you want to learn to control the opponent until you can get the cuffs on them. Okay, or you're using the taser. So a softer form like Aikido or Aikijitsu versus karate, would be more advantageous.
Yes. Wow.
Unfortunately, it's very hard to do.
Well, especially you got the heat of the moment, you got, your adrenaline pumping, you got their adrenaline pumping, and you just want to stop it as quickly as possible. So, I mean, sometimes you're not really thinking about the camera that's on you at all times.
Yeah.
And then you got these jokers out there that'll pull out their cell phone the minute, things start, somebody starts yelling, oh, what, I've had that happen once or twice. So, at 70 years old,
74.
74. How do you condition your body? Technology's changed a lot in the world today. So compared to back when you started training martial arts, you got a little ding, or you twist your knee or something. Oh, get up, rub it off, get to work again. Blah blah. How do you condition your body in today's society to train at a high level as you age?
Well, you have to be more careful with what you're training, okay? And I know 7-foot flying kicks and stuff like that anymore. But you learn, instead of breaking the arm when you're blocking, you pass it by. You press, okay, rather than a hard contact. Okay. Still do Makawara training in that,
Strengthening your fists and your bones and your knuckles.
They're pretty much dead now. I'm also an iron palm practitioner, so.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that would hurt me to start that right now. But you got to condition your body, obviously.
I've conditioned the hands slowly. And then you put your Tita-Jiao on, your liniment.
Yes, sir.
Strengthen the hands.
So, what's your fondest memory in your martial arts career?
My fondest memory? There's several, but one I remember waking up after a guy knocked me out during a tournament, and my master standing over me.
What do you say?
Well, he said, all right, I see what you did to the boy. Let's see what you can do to the man. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
and I was like, yeah.
kind of like a Karate Kid moment where...
Yeah, I was like 16 years old.
Oh, wow. So how old was your opponent? Was he your age, or was
he was in his 30s.
Oh, okay.
And he knocked me out after the call.
So it was a dirty hit.
Oh. The Shinbon called stop, and I turned and bowed. Bow.
Ooh.
Took me out.
Bet you were pretty upset about that.
And once I woke up, yeah. Back in the old days, man. Yeah.
It was a lot different.
No pads. It was first blood.
Jeez. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned, both training and teaching?
I would say that through my training and teaching, I've learned more about myself than anything. What's right and wrong, and how to control yourself. It's just not a matter of going out and killing people. In the old days, the karate guys always wore the black gis, and the judo guys wore the white gis. So the karate guys were always bad. They're breaking stuff and screaming at you. And the judo guys, no, they're not like that. So the idea of being able to control yourself, okay, during all of that.
Interesting. So, did that take you a long time to find that in your martial arts training?
Well, the discipline was always there. I mean, much more than it is now. I mean, you didn't talk in the dojo. You didn't ask questions in the dojo. You did what the master told you to do, and that was what you did.
Interesting. So, growing up in the Mahoney Valley here, Youngstown, Ohio area, was martial arts a big thing?
Back then it was, yeah. And then when Bruce Lee hit it, everybody wanted to be Bruce Lee, So you see all the kids out there playing around with their nunchakus down at the end of the street, And no idea what they were doing, but...
So what do you think the decline in this area for the martial arts was?
Well, the contact aspect and also the brutality of the karate is what they changed it. And it was the same way in the old days. In ancient Japan, they did the same thing. You know, instead of using wooden bokken, they padded their swords and stuff. You know, they wore padded equipment.
Yeah, because you don't have an opponent, you don't have anybody to train with.
You break them, you can't. They don't pay you.
Right. So, kids today aren't the same as what they were when you were growing up, or even, you know, as when I was growing up. I'm 43 years old. So, kids today are almost in a bubble. Do you think that has an aspect in the martial arts in this area?
Oh, that's most assuredly. That's why they have to wear all the padding, and you know, the kids don't go out to play.
No, they don't.
They play on their computer all the time.
Computer or video games?
Yeah, that's what they do. You know, where in my day, going outside, see the sun down.
Absolutely. The street lights come on, get home.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. How do you stay up to date with the latest techniques and development in your martial art? I mean, because I know I don't know much about Goshin Jitsu, but I know that almost every martial arts is evolving and it's continuously evolving.
It should be.
It should be. So, who is the governing body of your martial art, Goshin Jitsu?
Me.
Interesting.
I'm the head of the system.
Okay. All right. So, when you find a technique, how do you implement? Like, are you always still finding techniques from other martial arts that you implement?
And to answer that, my master always said, Bobby, if you see a good technique, steal it.
Well, that's what everybody does.
Well, hopefully. You know, that's where all the different systems came from. You know, with your body style, it's not the same as my body style, so some of the techniques that you do, I can't necessarily do, or not do as well. So I try to train the student according to his abilities.
Interesting. That was one of my upcoming questions. So, okay, when you have a student, a fairly new student in class, and you see them struggling, either mentally or physically, with the ability to do whatever you're trying to teach them to do, how do you handle that situation?
Well, let's look at how people used to train. In Okinawa, they would split them into little groups. 2 or 3 guys, and they would work that way. Okay. The Japanese, when it became a national, they did it according to ranking. You know, you got 50 guys, so you're doing all the same thing. So, okay, let's punch forever. You know, where the other way, it's a little more personalized. And say, okay, instead of that, let's do this, you know. So that's one of the big differences, you know, just how they expected to teach. Okay. And then, was it a sport form then? Not so much. Okay. You know, and where did it come from? It came from China.
Right.
Okay, the 47 families. It wasn't really 47, but that's what they say. And they came over to Okinawa, and they taught the white crane form, Hakasuru.
So it's interesting to me how martial arts, I hate to use this word, but martial arts spread like a virus throughout the whole world. I mean, it started out here, then it moved here, then it moved here, and they didn't like what they were doing, so they changed it here, and they changed it here, and then they spread, you know, then they occupied Okinawa, or they occupied Korea, and they weren't allowed to practice martial arts, so they had to get foreign weapons to do in secret, and then they sent them over here, and it just spread. So, I mean, to me, it's interesting. I mean, it's still, to me, it's a world phenomenon. I mean,
the whole world have different ways of doing it because they're different people. Okay, I mean, the Greek had it. I mean, imagine boxing with stone gloves.
That wouldn't be a fun time for me.
No, you know. Okay, or, you know, look at the Indians. You know, they had tomahawks and they'd wrestle. Okay, well, everybody had different ones. The Russian, Sambo, which is a very nasty art.
I don't know too much about Sambo.
It's a combination of wrestling and hitting, much like jiu-jitsu. You know, so everybody had a little shot of it. And that's why you have different styles, different systems. I mean, even the Chinese, you know, you have the northern form, you have the southern form. You You got one more straight leg kicking. Why? Because it was cold, and they had to wear leggings, which was a little harder to throw the kick.
Yes, sir.
You know, than the southern hand. You know, the softer styles.
Interesting. So, in martial arts, I see a lot of ego-driven people. Why do you think that is so prevalent in the martial arts? With they have to be recognized. They have to be this guy. They have to be this guy. They have to be thought of this way. Why do you suppose? I mean, I think that turns some martial artists off. I mean, and rather than bringing martial arts together, which that's a feat in itself. I don't know that it'll ever actually come together because you have ego-driven people.
For an art that's supposed to be ego-less, there's a lot of ego.
You're right. You're 100% right. It's supposed to be.
And why is that? Well, because when you're fighting, there's a winner and a loser. Who wants to be the loser?
Well, if you learn something, you're not a loser.
Yeah, but if you lose and then tell everybody you won, you're the winner, right?
That's true.
Okay, so it breaks down to, okay, you're supposed to work with the opponent, Like one of my favorites, absolute favorites. Well, come on, we're going to go spar. You don't spar. Okay, you do kumite, which is exchange techniques for knowledge. There's your difference.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's go spar and we'll have a couple beers. No.
Let's go kumite.
Yeah.
And then maybe have a couple beers. So, if at all possible, do you feel that it's a good thing to network with other martial artists, other styles, other things?
Well, yes and no. Some of them do it for the power. We're going to network, and we have over 50 schools with us. You just have one. You're no good.
Well, what makes you less than them?
Because there's 50 guys to say I am.
Well, there's 50 guys that are watering down a system where yours is more pure. And yours is direct. You're teaching what you know, where this guy's teaching what he thinks, and this guy's teaching what he thinks. Well, this is my school. I'm going to do it this way. This is my school. I'm going to do it this way.
In the different arts that I've studied, I've met some very great practitioners that were open. Okay, and I met some that were just way up here.
A lot of them are closed off. Some that I've met are very, very closed off, very secretive in what they're teaching. But some of them, put their stuff on YouTube and here, this is for you.
For years, we didn't do that. For years.
No.
No. Couldn't do that. Weren't allowed to do that.
Why is that?
And the masters wanted to keep it hidden.
To keep it, is it like an advantage-based thing, or?
You can't block what you've never seen before.
Interesting. And what has changed in that mindset, you think?
Well, the networking.
The networking.
The TV, when I first started years ago, I was watching an international circus. I was a little young boy, and these guys come up, these little guys, they got these funny uniforms on, and they were doing these dancing kind of things, and then they got down, they yelled, and they broke all these bricks, and I'm like, why'd they yell first? You'd think after they hit it, they'd yell, like, oh, that hurts a lot.
It's their chi.
Yeah, well, and you're just like,
you're like,
why would they do? I want to learn that.
Right. I want to break stuff.
So, I want to learn how to fight and break stuff and not scream at my hands. So I went to the library, looked up some books on it, and at the time it was What is Karate? Masayama, and I went to take the book out. Oh, it's restricted. You're not old enough to have it.
Like in C-17 type stuff from the movies.
Yeah, and so I got my mom. Come on, Mom, we're gonna go get the book. And this little old lady, this made me laugh. She goes, I have to tell you, this is a deadly book. It's deadly. The last two boys that got this book, they were practicing. They hit each other and they both died. because they knew these secret spots. And I'm like, I want it now really bad. But no, that's a true story. I'm like, yeah, okay.
The old little librarian, huh?
Yeah.
Trying to scare you out of getting the book.
Yeah.
Do you still have that book?
Oh, yeah.
Not the library's book.
Yeah. I got a very big library.
Right. So, how do you balance discipline and encouragement in your teaching style?
Well, you don't encourage too much. In the old schools, you didn't. Mm-hmm. You were told that's what you had to do. Mm-hmm. You know. So now you're allowed to say, "Hey, that wasn't bad," or okay, let's try to change that just a little bit. But
yes, sir.
You encourage by doing, by having students watch you, not only in karate but in your normal life. So they're supposed to. Once again, you have to learn by example.
Interesting. So, do you think you'd have the love for martial arts growing up today the same as when you saw it back then? As much as it's changed?
No.
No?
No, I don't see him as dedicated.
No. So as a little boy, you wouldn't go to the library and pick out that book, seeing what it is today?
They might, but they might not work. They might get the book, but they might not practice as much.
That's true.
I mean, okay, let's start. Okay, half hour in a horse stance. How many people are going to do that?
It's not fun.
Oh, no, it's not fun. And okay, now we're going to do 500 punches,
No, that's not fun either.
Back in the old days, it was all key on drill. And I tell my students, it's better to do 100 right than 1,000 wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you do 100 wrong, you're training your body to do something wrong. It's just like I've watched some Kempo people, and I'm not dogging on Kempo martial arts. They're very dedicated in what they do, but when they're striking, they're slapping themselves. What's your take on that?
It's kind of cute.
But
the original Kempo was very nasty. It was a Waza-based art.
So the original Kempo wasn't Ed Parker's Kempo. It was, I can't think of the name for it, but it was Chinese Kempo.
They have Chinese Kempo, you have Japanese Kempo.
Okay. So what's the big difference? Did Mr. Parker just merge those two together and Americanize it? How does that work?
Well, let's take it to now. Okay, Kempo throws crosses and side thrust kicks, and they call them crosses and side thrust kicks. Okay, in their washes, they have some really flowerful names for them, like the five saber strikes or the 5 knives, but a lot of it's been watered down. Okay, not saying that not everybody does that, but a lot of the real original Kempo was very vicious, just like the animal forms versus the kickboxing that they do now. Why do you do the animal forms? Well, for defense and also to kill people. Okay, boxing is a headhunter's art. And everybody goes, "Oh, they're good fighters." They might be good fighters, but they don't kill people.
No, not typically.
That's what the original forms were for. You actually had to hurt people. You would see a lot more empty hands in the old days. Now they put the gloves on and they beat each other.
Right. Interesting. So, what's the big difference between Goshin Jitsu and Kempo Karate?
Well, Goshin Jitsu is Japanese for one thing. Kempo Karate's Chinese. or Japanese, or Shorinji Kempo. Okay, our system is very close fighting, almost like judo, but it's jujitsu and karate put together. Okay, so you have throws, locks, holds, kensetsu waza, breaking the joints, strangulation techniques, and kill techniques. So
your style of martial arts would be ideal for if you're standing in a hallway and you had to defend yourself. Being it that close?
Oh, yeah, or, yeah.
Because right here. Yeah, I don't want to get close to you because I know what you're capable of doing. But no, in my art, I couldn't do a lot of the things that I would like to do in a hallway. And so, I mean, that's kind of why I also practice judo, because I know judo, I could throw somebody in a hallway if I needed to.
Yeah.
So
I always thought in judo it was real nice. You'd be a gentleman when you choked him out.
yeah. Well,
You're doing me a favor.
well, here's an interesting story. I just recently competed in the World Police Fire Games over last summer, and it was my first judo tournament ever, and I did not know what to expect at all. Had no clue. I always did taekwondo tournaments and karate. So I go to this tournament, and there's these huge guys from these other countries, and they were actually on, 4 of them were on their country's Olympic team. So I find out I got to fight these guys, and they're Olympians. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, okay. So, and I go up and I introduce myself. No talking. They did not want to talk prior to the match at all. They would not talk to me. Right. But the minute the match was over, they came over, gave me a hug. The one guy, he had to go about 500 and some odd pounds. He was huge. He was a Chinese Taipei. He was from the country Taipei, and he comes up to me, and I almost had him. I had him leaning. I had him going, and he just did something. He shifted his weight, and next thing I know, I'm up and over. And he comes up to me. He goes, "You're going to be good." He goes, "You just need to eat more." I'm 245, 250 pounds, and this guy makes me look like I'm anorexic.
Like a little, yeah.
Right, but that's one thing I noticed about the judo players from other countries. Prior to the match, no socialization. After the match, they were the greatest guys in the world. They were super nice. I mean, just very welcoming, and to me, that I have a lot of respect for that. There was no egos there. I didn't understand why they were so cold at the beginning, but I do now. But there was no egos. It was very friendly, very open, very kind, and they showed me kindness. I mean, my first tournament is a world tournament, and it was just different. It's not like going to a USAT tournament or going to a AAU tournament, and I did this, I won this, I won this, I won this, I won. They didn't talk about themselves.
That's just like bowing. When you bow, everybody looks down. In Ghost Jiu-Jitsu, we look up.
Yeah, because you're going to get kicked in the face.
Hello. In the Chinese form that I studied, Qilin Tao, Kung Fu, we shake hands like this.
Always on guard.
Yeah. Respect but don't trust, as they would say in the old days.
Right. All right, let's take a break real quick.